everyone, Stuart here. Thank you for joining me and welcome to class. So today I'm going to share with you some of my favourite techniques. I was actually writing an article on these techniques just a couple of days ago for a new course that I'm putting up online, and I was adding up the time that I have been using these practices for. It's 23 years. So 23 years ago this summer was when I was first introduced to these techniques on a therapy course, a sports injury course. You can see that I've got a couple of pieces of equipment out, so I'm going to use a massage ball, a myofascial ball. If you haven't got one of these, then I would advise you to use a sports ball with a bit of give. Now, often people reach for lacrosse balls or baseballs. For me, they're too dense, and it means that actually you're working with the tissue in a more aggressive way than you need to. And often they're so dense and so uncomfortable, even painful, that you actually can't do the practices. So if you can, veer more towards the tennis ball end, and specifically a newer tennis ball, one that's strong and hard but has a little bit of give. Or invest in a massage ball. Go to my website, you can go to my shop there, and you can look at the exact balls that I use in my practices. So massage ball to one side. Secondly, I've got this is actually a studio weights bar. It's a steel bar that's surrounded by softer rubber. So again, very similar to the ball. It's firm and strong, but it has a little bit of give. Good substitute here would be a broomstick with a towel wrapped around it. So again, it's firm and we can work with the practices, but it's bearable. That will lead me into our parameters of practice. Common thing for us humans is to fall into this idea that more is better. And in this case, more sensation, more discomfort, even more pain. Now, from my research and my studies, that isn't the case with these techniques. It's important to note that we're not breaking tissue down, not really, even though on that original course that I was taught some 20 odd years ago, that's exactly what they said. More modern understandings of these practices say that probably isn't the case. The tissue is so strong that actually we couldn't inflict enough force on it to break it. What's actually happening is we're stimulating a nervous system response. These are neuromuscular practices. Just like yoga, they directly interact with the brain and the nervous system to create a different response, a different reaction. And in our case, it's a sense of ease, it's to relax. So, more isn't better. Having said that, we do need to feel sensation. So when I'm teaching this in classes, I usually use a scale of 1 to 10. 1, you can't feel anything at all. 10, you're in excruciating pain. I would recommend you're in the 6s and 7s. It's uncomfortable, it's tough, it's challenging, but it's bearable. It's definitely not painful. And our distinction here is how we breathe. Just like in the yoga practice, we can use breath both as a barometer of practice, so how we truly feel, but also we can change the breath so that we can amplify the practice itself. This is exactly the same. If when you're in the practices, you can't control the breath and you're tightening and breathing harder and tensing up, it's a good indication that actually we're just stressing the nervous system out. We're going to get the brain and the peripheral nervous system to go, oh my God, you're in danger, get out of here. In which case we get a stress response instead of, this is difficult, but actually I can relax into it. I can seal the lips, I can breathe consciously through the nose, I can breathe into the diaphragm, and I can't find perfect ease. Obviously I can't, it's a tough practice, but I can find a little more. If we can hit that sweet spot, boom, we're in class. Okay, let's start with our first technique then. Thank you for that lengthy introduction and listening. We're going to start with the massage ball technique. I'm going to remain seated on the floor. That's just because I have confidence that I've got enough musculature in my legs to apply the relevant amount of pressure. If you would prefer, and how I often teach it in class, I ask students to stand up. And it's a bit easier to navigate and coordinate your body weight over the ball. For me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the ball on the heel, and then I'm going to very slowly roll the ball all the way up to the tops of the feet and all the way to the toes. I'm going to do this slowly a couple of times to begin with. And this is a mapping technique. So we're just getting the ball to interact with the tissue that we want to work with. We're desensitizing to the ball and the spikes in the ball, getting used to the density of it. And importantly, in a very yogic sense, this is the opportunity to check in. This is where we start to notice, how does the foot feel today? Does it feel different than last week? Does it feel more tender? Are there things in practice that I've done this week which require a little more kindness and attention here? Or do I need to go for it? Do I need a little more fire? A little more perseverance. And only you can make that choice. Now what I'm going to do, imagine a lawnmower. So yourself or someone that you may have seen mowing their lawn, and they make those, hopefully, fairly beautiful tracks. So we're going to roll the ball all the way up to the top, move it slightly to the side, roll it all the way down. Roll it to the side, move it all the way up. So we're creating those lines and we're interacting with every part of the foot that we can. We're going to start from the inside of the foot, and I'm just tilting so I've got the insole as well. So I'm going to roll all the way up to the outside of the big toe, roll it in a little, and then work my way all the way down. Now you can see the rhythm that I'm using. This again would be my preference. We go slowly. One, because from my personal experience, not necessarily my studies, but my personal experience, I found that this really helps with the tissue. Helps us, again, get better relationship with it. Maybe we can start to find those specific areas that need a little more care and attention we need to pause on. And it also means that for me, I feel like I'm working into the tissues a little better. Let's take it to the other foot and we'll do the same thing to begin with. So we map. Remember, if you're not feeling enough sensation, then stand. Definitely use your body weight to help you press into the ball a little more. Again, I've got a fairly dense ball. It has got some give. But with the soles of the feet, because I've done it so many times over these last 2 decades, I'm actually really pressing down here. Using that scale of 1 to 10, for me personally, I think I'm around a 5. So I can definitely feel that something's going on. There's a sensitivity there. It's definitely not painful. So I'm rolling all the way up, all the way back. Then we'll start the lawnmower idea. So we're trying to interact with every part of the foot that we possibly can. Rolling all the way forwards and all the way back. All the way forwards. And all the way back. And I'm just heading down towards the outside of the foot, the very edge, sole of the foot, and all the way back. Perfect. Okay, first technique, we have it in the bag. We're going to couple that with something that yin yoga students or yin yoga teachers are probably more aware of and either have a love or hate relationship with it, or a little bit of both, and that's a toe tuck. Ours is slightly different in the sense of, from my understanding, personal experience, but also studies with fascia, fascia prefers to be used in a multidirectional way. It works better than being very linear patterns, being very still in these isometric, instead of being very still in these very passive postures. So I am going to reach back and tuck the toes, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to very slowly roll from right to left. And again, very similar to ball, it means that the floor is now interacting with as much or as many of the toes as it can, and that creates this little bit of tension and stretch sensation across the soles of the feet. So we start to work into the fascia. Imagine that your tissue, because it really is like this, is one complete fabric, this elasticated spandex that's all over your body. And so if we work in a very linear way and stay still, yes, we interact with that tissue in this very linear way. But if we add a bit of movement in, we start to do this with the tissue. And when we do this with the tissue and we pull it in a multi-directional way, it interacts with the nervous system better. So I'm going to roll from side to side. Now we've been here for a considerable amount of time. If you haven't done this practice before, treat this the very same as we're using the ball. If you start to veer to those 9s and 10s and it's just really uncomfortable, borderline painful, then simply come forwards, tap the tops of the toes, wiggle around a little bit, then come back. You'll find, as with most things in life, if we keep consistent with it and we practice frequently, a couple of times a week, then actually you'll see immense amount of progress in this region, both from your flexibility, mobility and strength, also from pain in this region, but also in your ability to stay with the practice for this length of time. I'm going to rock just a few more times. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, let's come to our second technique. This is where we're going to take either the broom or the broom with a towel wrapped around, or as I've done, this steel bar with a little bit of rubber. I'm going to get it right behind the knees and I'm going to get the bar to interact with the backs of the legs. So I'm going to lower my body weight down. I'm completely in control of this because I've got use of the hands. So I can put all my body weight down, and that's going to press the bar so it penetrates deeper. If I prefer, I can stay lean forward and support myself. Then we're going to include that diaphragmatic breathing. We're going to pause here just for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Perfect. We come forwards, and then again, because we want to interact with all of the tissue as much as we can, we just do a quarter turn, that's it. Then we come down. So the bar is rolling down the leg towards the ankle. I'm going to pause here, close my eyes, do a little check-in. This is the intensity of the practice. Is this right for me? Then I'm going to breathe slowly to amplify its benefits. And then I'm going to come forwards. Well done. Let's do another quarter turn. Now this time round, let's really reinforce the value, in fact the importance of the breath. Just like these fascial techniques, the breath is one of the most potent ways for us to elicit change, for us to have a barometer of how we're experiencing the world, but also potentially change it. And with these techniques, we're looking to create more of a sense of ease. We're using the stimulation of the sensation to actually trigger a relaxation response. We can amplify that with a breath. We don't need to be overly specific or know any tradition or techniques from long ago. We simply seal the lips. If you can, you breathe consciously through the nose and you slow it down. That's it. We slow the breath down, make it a little longer. Let's come forwards, roll it a quarter turn, press down. So for me, that is a whoof moment. So I can really feel something there. That has increased its intensity. In fact, I'm just going to bring a little more tension to mine. I mentioned earlier about this idea of checking in. So as I check in, I can feel quite a vast difference between my left and right side. And for me, that's new, so that's interesting. I only practiced these techniques a couple of days ago. Hadn't noticed that. So I'm just going to sit with it. Just inquire as to what that is. Is that the right feeling? And I think it is. Breathe slowly with it and just let my body sink a little deeper. And then come forwards. Okay, so there you go, new learning. And again, that's a very yogic thing. You know, these techniques helping us check in, heighten that sense of awareness. I'm going to come back again, and just because of what I've previously experienced, I'm going to choose to go a little deeper and just let my body weight sink down. And then there's a difference. So I'm going to sit with it and tune into that extra sensation. And then as I breathe slowly, maybe start to shift the relationship with it here. Calm down, let the body relax. Let's come forwards. And I think I've got room for just one more. So we're going to pause where your calf muscle ends. That's where we're going to pause. So we're not going to go down the tendon of the calf, the Achilles. We're going to pause right at the bottom of it. And there's a marma point here. We won't touch on that too much. This is a term that's from the yogic tradition. And where the bar is resting now, right at the end of that calf muscle, right as it becomes thinner into the tendon, right at that junction, there's an energetic trigger there. And if we press into it, it stimulates the nervous system. And it can feel quite tender, but it's said in the tradition to cause release. And again, in my experience, that's definitely the case. So it feels uncomfortable, but actually I can relax into it. Let's come forwards and we'll make our way back up. So we'll do a quarter turn, then sit back down. Same practices. Breathe slowly. Try to let the body sink down. Check in with the degree of intensity. Relax the shoulders and the muscles of the face. Let's come forwards. Quarter turn up. Sit back down. relax. Sink into the bar. Slow the breath. So for me, and you might share this experience, let's come forwards. You might find that the intensity is still there, but it subsides a little. And maybe not, particularly if you're newer to the practices, it just feels intense, just feels wildly intense. And that scale of 1 to 10 that we said before, I'm sure if you're newer to these practices, you've been at 11 from almost the whole session. But I can promise you, it eases, and I can promise you there is benefit in these techniques, otherwise I wouldn't share them. Let's come forwards one more time. So I've now arrived with the bar at the back of the knees, right back to where we started. I'm going to sit down into it. And again, 100% for me, I can still feel this sensation there. Scale 1 to 10, I'm at 6s and 7s. It's quite intense, but it's a little lesser than it was before when I started. I'm going to sit with it and breathe slowly, just for a few more seconds. Okay, perfect. Let's come forward. We shall take the bar to one side. And then to close our practice, we're going to come into a type of downward facing dog. We're going to do a single leg version into a stretch, and then we're going to come into a bit of movement. So downward facing dog is this, the inverted V shape. I'm going to anchor into my hands and importantly press into the fingertips of this space in the shoulders and extend the right leg only. I'm going to try to transfer all of my body weight over to that right side, and as best I can and as best you can, press your right heel down into the ground. Notice how the foot is placed and if it's turned straight or turned in or turned out. You don't need to move it for now, but next time we come back here, change the ankle, change the foot position. So I'm going to head over to the left, fully extend the left leg as much as I can, press the left heel down. I'm going to strengthen the left thigh. Now for me, my foot is completely straight. So as I head back to the right, I'm now going to turn the toes of the right foot in, still press into the heel, still push back. And then to the left side, I'm going to do the same. Turn the toes in, press into the heel. This time when I step to the right, I'm going to have the toes turned out. And for here, might be that I need to walk down to feel a little more sensation. And then left side, toes turned out. That should be the most accessible version. And now finally into downward facing dog, toes turned in. And I'm going to press, simultaneously twist from side to side, lift the heels, lower the heels, and then eventually come down to the mat. Fantastic, everyone. So that's going to bring our practice to a close. As we finish class, I'm going to encourage you to do one more thing. Another incredible practice, particularly for the tissues that we have worked today, is bounding. So as long as you feel you're able to bring a little more impact into your body as we close, the ankles, the knees, the hips are fine with that. Then, as you see me in the outro for this practice, I'm going to stand up, and for a few seconds, I'm simply going to bounce around. This is another great technique which really helps the fascia interact with our nervous system and body better. Outside of that, thank you for practicing. I hope you enjoy the techniques, and I'll see you again soon. Have a great day, everyone.